Welcome to Get on the Ark. My name is Darren Conrad, your host. For those that don't know who we are, this is a show about God and what he's doing with extraordinary and miraculous things with ordinary people. There's a storm coming, a spiritual storm with dark days ahead for all of humanity. And just as God had warned Noah to build an ark to save his family from the coming flood, all across the globe, God is calling his people out of darkness and out of complacency and into a relationship with Jesus to save us from the storm that is coming to our generation. So welcome to Get on the Ark, and today we have a special guest, return guest, Rick Hill. So welcome, Rick.
Hey, Darren, I've been looking forward to this. I love your show. I love the way you do the flyers. It's always fun. It's not a downer, it's an upper.
Yes.
To talk about the subjects we talk about, which are normally not pleasant, but they have hope.
Yes.
And hope is helping other people escape.
Yes. And truth.
Clearly we have a good reason to be here.
Yes. So Rick, tell us a little bit about your initial journey in your faith walk, but then, the story about the Mayo and what took you to Mexico and how that happened.
Well, my religious or personal relationship with the Lord started when I was about 7 or 8 years old. My mother took us to a Billy Graham crusade at Cobo Hall in Detroit, Michigan. And we were up in the nosebleed section, that it probably was 5-6 minutes to be able to get down all those stairs to the main floor. But Billy Graham I slid forward in my seat. My mom said that I didn't fidget. I listened to his sermon. And then at the end, he said, tonight's the night that you can come to Jesus and be sure that you're going to go to heaven. We invite you to come forward in order to receive this. And she said, I slid out of my chair, didn't ask permission, didn't wait for her to go with me in a room that had, 25,000 people. I don't know. It was full, Cobo Hall. And so then she told my other brothers, the older ones, you watch your sister. I gotta follow him. I don't know where he's going to go. And so I took off. I went down, and the counselor greeted me, and we prayed. And on the way home, I was not happy. I was crying. She said, what is the matter with you? I said, he said that if I went down to the front of that room, that I could go to heaven. And they weren't telling me the truth. She said, well, I'll explain more about this later, but I could see where you would feel that. But she said, wouldn't you miss us? And I said, well, I guess I figured you're going to. So that's how I learned about heaven.
Wow.
There's a little misunderstanding. But we were raised in a Baptist church, a fundamentalist church. Doesn't matter if it was Baptist or not, but Bible believing. And my mom made sure we were there twice on Sunday and every Wednesday.
Yes.
The whole thing. And I went to a fundamentalist college, got my degree in education and Bible. And then I became the principal of a Christian day school in New Ulm, Minnesota, which is southern Minnesota. Very Lutheran, very strict town. And we did a great job. We took all the delinquents from the local schools that nobody wanted, and we graduated them early because they got a Christian environment, but we set the pace for them individually. It wasn't a lockstep environment. That doesn't mean they could do what they wanted. It means we became aware of what they needed, and then we made it fun. We used videos. We did a lot of things. And a lot of those kids went on to Bible college. Lots of them did. Wow. In fact, most of them. I was also the youth pastor of that church. And we just had a great ministry there. And then I got sick.
Yeah. So what happened? Like, when did you get the diagnosis? And then how did that transpire?
1974.
Okay.
51 years ago.
All right.
I discovered a tumor. It was in my groin, so I didn't do a lot of horseback riding at that
Right.
period of time. And I went to about 5 or 6 doctors. Everybody had opinion. Some are giving me, penicillin. Some are giving me they don't know. And finally, the last guy I went to said, this could be serious. And we live sort of near the Mayo Clinic, a few hours drive. So I'm going to get you recommended. And he did. I got in. I had good insurance through the church. And I was there maybe a day, and they said, we need to do some surgery right away. Because remember, there were no scans. They couldn't do a CT or a PET scan. They did exploratory surgery, which was a lot like an autopsy. I got a scar big enough to crawl out of if I get bored. And it was 9 hours of surgery. And they just sewed me up. They cut me up here too. Found out I had lymphatic cancer in my neck and in my feet and all places in between. And so radiation was out of the question. You can't radiate the whole body. But they wanted to start me on chemo fairly quickly. And before that happened, the chemotherapist came into my room and said, you need to invite your family to come in right away. It's time for you. Golly, what happened to, I thought I worked for God. Why me? Well, it turns out it was a germ cell. Don't want to go embryonal cell, high grade embryonal cell, stage 3, because there's no stage 4 in that. It's either high grade or low grade. I don't know. But it was terminal. I was down to 120 pounds and I was on morphine. Now, I'm not a big guy. You can tell by looking at me. I weigh 145 pounds. But that day I weighed 120. And I had been on morphine long enough that I was having chats with the pink elephants. We were good friends. And I knew the end was coming fast. My family flew in. I got a family photo from when they were there. And I was scheduled on Friday to meet with my chemotherapist. Is this where you have another question, or do you want me to continue that line of discussion?
No, continue. Like, so you were given a death sentence. So you're like, this is it. It's over. Get your family, pray for us, and let's
over.
Say our goodbyes. And
let's see who gets the gold watch.
Yeah.
When you're a youth pastor, it's not real gold.
Right.
Probably 10, but not complaining. No,
Yeah.
it was worthy thing to be doing. And so I met with my, that day I was going to go to the chemotherapist in the afternoon. That morning I got a letter, 10-cent stamp to prove the dates. And it was from a John Ballantyne, who was a pastor in southern Minnesota. He knew me, and I didn't really like him very much because when he would come to chapel, he was a John Bircher. Does that ring a bell with you at all? No?
No.
It's MAGA on steroids.
Okay.
These are the original MAGA people.
Okay.
Only not as nice.
Okay.
He would come to chapel to speak where I was in seminary, and he'd talk about Jesus for 15 minutes, but he would talk about get us out of the UN for 30. And I wasn't a political guy. And I thought, why doesn't he stick to what he's been called to do? And, kids know everything, right?
Right.
I was the Illuminati in that seminary. I knew everything. And he wrote me a letter, and I'm going to quote it. It was on a little sheet of paper, that big. Yeah. And the letter said, "Dear Rick, if you want to live, you're going to have to leave the Mayo Clinic. John," and put his phone number. And I called him up and I said, "Whatever you're smoking, I want some."
Yeah.
Because I'm on morphine and I deserve it. And he laughed and he said, "Rick, I don't use, smokable drugs. Right. And I know you don't. So I get the gag." But I said, "John, I'm at the Mayo Clinic. don't you think that's a citadel of modern medicine? He said, yeah, of course I do. I said, well, then what's up with this leave? He said, well, it is the citadel of modern medicine, but I don't think you need medicine. Well, what do you think a terminal guy needs? He said, well, you've got medicine. How's it working? I said, well, you know how it's working. I'm not going to live long. He said, okay, here's why I've contacted you. I've had a couple of members of my church go down. They flew into San Diego. A bus picked them up. They went to Tijuana, little clinic down there, and they're using a non-toxic therapy, food-based, and it's working. All of them came back, not cured, but clearly on the mend, much better than when they left. And they've been told if they stay with it, they can expect to recover. I said, well, I don't know. This sounds like crazy to me. And he said, well, look, I'm the messenger. You do with it what you want, pal. And I said, well, I've got an appointment with the chemotherapist this afternoon. I'm going to tell him what you said. Last thing he said to me was, good luck with that, pal. Yeah. Pearls before the swine, I don't want to run that too far.
Right.
But I sat down with the chemotherapist, told him what I just told you. And I said, have you ever heard of anything that stupid? The chemotherapist leaned back in his chair and he said, you know what, Rick? It is warm in Tijuana this time of year. Yeah, I did what you did. And when he said that, I looked at him and I said, message delivered. And I appreciate your honesty, because he wasn't going to say go to Tijuana. He's getting $300,000 a year probably.
Yeah.
But he tipped his hat. And I got up, walked out, went to the door, turned around and said, I probably will never see you again. And he smiled at me. And I left. I got in the car, told my wife what he said. She went, what are you going to do? I said, well, tonight's dinner with the fam, I'm going to tell them about it. And she went, ooh, And I walked into the lion's den. So I know how Daniel felt. My family, we all were raised in Detroit, knew swear words. And they were flying at me that night. And mainly what they said was, you're an idiot. We always knew you were stupid. We just didn't know how bad it was. You're going to leave the Mayo Clinic and go to a hole-in-the-wall clinic. They have apricots, liquid apricot oils shoved in your veins. Nobody could believe that, including me. And so we got to my father-in-law and he stood up and he said, you know what? I like it. And I'm going to take him and I'll help pay for it.
Wow.
I went, deal. And I'm telling you, Darren, 2 days later, we were standing in Tijuana. But I went down the rabbit hole. I grew up a Detroit greaser, the Fonzie hairdo, the whole deal, the black leather jacket, 57 Ford, slick tires, hearse floor shift, blonde girlfriend. Yeah. Taking care of business. And I get down there and these are like strange people. They eat out of barrels. They say things like, oh, wow. And I thought, I'm going to have to fight a few of these people before I get out of here. But I didn't feel like fighting. What a miracle. And so rather than bore you to death, I'd like to mention a couple products that are easy to get, legal to get. Yeah. But more than that, I want to answer a question for your viewers. What in the world, besides my father-in-law, caused me to leave the Mayo Clinic and go down there? And I can't explain that without one of my favorite Bible stories. I'll make it quick. Was Abraham moved, and when his son was marrying age, he wanted to marry, but Abraham did not want him marrying a lady from that part of the world. Yeah. CNN would love to get a hold of this story. And so what he did, he went to sleep that night and God spoke to him, Abraham. and said, send your servant to the land of your fathers, and I will have a woman at a well drawing water. She'll see you coming, offer you a drink and your camels a drink. This is a woman that your son should marry, and I'll prepare a dowry that you can bring on the camels to offer her father for her impending absence and her potential income. Did you know that was a 450-mile trip on a sweaty camel?
Wow.
But those clinking in the bags over the camels of the gold, jewels, and diamonds. Abraham was nobody's dumb bunny. And he was a wealthy man, and he knew how to close the sale. So he put that on the camel and said, if she'll do it, that money will be for the family. So he gets there. There's a woman, good-looking lady, single, virgin, standing at the well. And he goes, He walks up and she goes, hi, well, you look thirsty. What, can I get you a drink? And he went, you sure can. I mean, it's like, thank you. I told you, I love it. I love it. And then she looks over his shoulder and says, and your camels look pretty thirsty. Bring them over and we'll give them a long drink here. And he went, thank you so much. So when the clinking started, when he walked toward the well, he said, he told her the story. My master Abraham, who serves the Lord your God, wants you to be in the family. And we have this for you. She opened the bag and looked in and went, okay, we can talk. and she agreed to leave. They had that whole journey back. And when he got back, and here's a punchline, one of the other servants said to this servant, didn't you ever wonder halfway through that trip, what am I doing? There's not going to be anybody at that well. And he said, no, I didn't think that, because God spoke to my father Abraham. And he said, and I, being in the way, believe the Lord led me. The way meaning the will of God. Mm. And I have to claim that, because first of all, I get this crazy letter. Second of all, the chemotherapist says, it is warm in Tijuana this time of year. And I'm thinking, what's going on? This happens in one day. I get home, my family tacks me to the floor, but my father-in-law says, let's go. I'll help you, and I'll pay for part of it. I being in the way. Right. In other words, what I'd like your viewers to think about is, in the time of great need, does God reach out when we are virtually powerless to make the changes needed ourselves? Should we be confident, if we are believers, that there is a woman at the well?
Amen.
And that's what I want them to know. And when I got down there, it wasn't ideal. It was a little hole in the wall clinic. Today, Oasis of Hope Hospital is a 5-story hospital, 100 employees, MDs on staff, oncologists on staff, a private room with your own bathroom, clean, and 3 organic meals served a day to you and a companion. You want to go? Wow. Not then. No one spoke English. You spent all day carrying little toys and showing over there, and I was so sick that I'll tell you a story at the end about how I dealt with that. But for 21 days, I took 2 of these bottles of liquid Laetrile. That's the apricot kernels smushed into an oil, and then they put it mainline right there, just like the guy under the bridge. They take my arm, soup me up, bam, and then the next day the other one. 21 days. Plus, I was on a restricted diet. Most people don't want to do. And I took pancreatic enzymes, which is the one product I do want to talk about a little bit later. 21 days. And I walked out of that place not cured, but on the mend. My color was back, morphine gone, and I was hungry again. For food, I mean.
Yeah.
And there was another woman that was carried into the clinic. She's on my Facebook site today. She weighed 89 pounds when they brought her in. 89 pounds. Glioblastoma, brain cancer, spread to her spine. She couldn't walk. Her name is Betty. That's all I'm going to tell you. And she's alive and well, living in Key West with 1 million grandkids and getting way too much sun.
Wow.
So I'm not a one-off. There's another lady on my Facebook site that was actually there 3 or 4 years before I went. She's perfectly healthy, stage 4 cancer. So, you know, you look at books like Dr. Richardson's. I met him one time. Laetrile case histories, the Richardson cancer experience, 62 case histories. By the way, I got a picture in here of my doctor, not with me, but if I can't get to it quickly, I'm not going to keep looking, but he's in there. Oh, where are you, Doc? I know you're in here. I know you're in here. Come on, Doc. I can't find it. So I'm not alone. And today they matriculate about 30 new patients a month, and they have a wonderful program. So what am I doing today to stay well? It's been 51 years. No chemo, no radiation, and never a relapse. How did I do that? Because I took them seriously, and the first thing I did was change my diet. I can tell you in one sentence what it is. It's easy to talk about. It's not easy to do, I found out, but doable. All organic, most of it raw and uncooked, meaning a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables mainly, and organic fruit. And no sugar. That's the bugaboo, because carbohydrate is sugar. Pizza, pasta, rice, all those things are sugar. And I was raised in Detroit. We were at McDonald's twice a week. And my mother was on Sand Mountain, Alabama, raised. And so it was beans, cornbread, and fried everything else. And I like that food. I substituted organic similes to try and reproduce that flavor, but not totally. So I changed my diet, and I did a little midterm fasting, but I continued to take the B17 capsules. I take one of those a day, not much, but this one is the king of the hill. The enzymes, and I'll tell you what it is. It's pancreatic enzymes. And in the book, World Without Cancer, which, by the way, I'll send your viewers some part of this book and my little book, if they want to log on to b17works.com.
B17 works.
Works.
Okay. Great.
I'll send them my book.
Yes.
Electronic copies. Yeah. And in this book, chapter 5, which I want them to read, Dr. John Beard was curing people with stage 4 cancer with pancreatic enzymes. Takes too much time to explain, but just this. He was a Scottish embryologist that noticed that a lot of babies seem to have, in gestation, cancer cells. But in the second or third month, the baby's pancreas kicked in and reduced the amount of those rapidly producing cells, which he called trophoblast, cancer cells. So he wondered what would happen if I took stage 4 adults, got pancreatic enzymes from properly raised animals, their pancreas, gave them large amounts, would it work the same way? And it did. And that's without B17. The government's always screaming about B17. It's got cyanide in it. Well, so do lima beans. Should we outlaw lima beans? No, except I don't like them much. Do you?
Yeah.
Proenzymes. So we sell legally as a food supplement pancreatic enzymes, and I take 4 a day on an empty stomach. Why would you take a digestive enzyme on an empty stomach? Because cancer cells hide behind protein. They manufacture it and cover up it. Dr. Soon was interviewed by Tucker Carlson. He told Tucker all about that masking effect that cancer cells use. This dissolves it, dissolves the protein coating. And when that happens, when your killer cells come along from your own immune system with the protein gone, opposites attract and they go to work. Without that, they don't even sense the cancer cells. So that's why after 51 years of being healthy, I take it 10 o'clock in the morning, a few of these, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a few of those on an empty stomach. I call it putting a cop on the beat because my own immune system is fighting for me. The B17 is just backup, just in case it missed some. But my main defense is my own immune system for 51 years. That's why it is such a miracle. And as long as we're just selling food supplements and not a cure for something, here's what I believe. If I went back to the way I was living when I was a young man, I think I'd get cancer again. Why? My immune system wouldn't be able to keep up and I'd be sick again. So what have I missed, my friend Darren?
No, you covered it. So does it matter what kind of cancer you have?
Really doesn't. I mean, you could log on to oasisofhope.com where I went, and they post their statistics and what kinds of cancer that they've mostly worked with. And then if you submit your records to them, they'll do a free consultation, Zoom. And then you can report, I got this, it's affecting this and this and this. And they will say, the only thing I've seen them turn people away that I've recommended is if they're jaundiced, their liver is shot. That's a difficult area for them to work with. So we saw, name it. I mean, they were in that waiting room. Brain cancers, bone cancers, liver cancers, breast cancers, lots of those. Now we're dealing with turbo cancers, thanks to Bill Gates and company. And what is that about? When I was at the Mayo Clinic working with them for a short time, 3 years, we didn't have any prostate cancers because that's an old man disease, slow moving. Mostly by the time you even know you get it, you're going to be dead before it bothers you. Not now. Not now. I mean, we are inundated with prostate cancers that are metastatic. They spread. And that's because we have rearranged whatever it is we weren't supposed to rearrange. Billions of people got a hold of this stuff. Well, hundreds of millions. I love to exaggerate. Yeah. Don't you? I mean, we get away with it. Usually we can. It bites us in the butt, But
so Rick, but you were in your 20s, right? When you got diagnosed?
24, yeah.
So 51 years later, and now you're representing and helping people that have cancer.
And basically go ahead.
You're sharing the solution.
Yeah, and the solution is food. Not eating the bad stuff and start eating the really good stuff. And when you need concentrated forms of that food, that's why I work with Richardson Nutrition, rncstore.com. Yeah. And what we're selling is food.
Yes.
Not a treatment.
Right.
And I'm not a doctor. I can't tell them what to do, but I can tell them what I did. I can tell them what other people do. And if they want to log on, I think I mentioned it, B17 works, and fill out a little questionnaire. I'll see it. I'll respond either through email or I'll call them. And I talk to I've made 600 phone calls based on B17 works. And I believe a lot of those people wanted the same food supplements that I got. So that's how we're doing and what we're doing and who I'm representing. We recommend other clinics in the United States that are using the Richardson protocol, which is what I did in Tijuana. It's really not rocket science. It's common sense. Once you know what cancer, one quick comparison. At the turn of the century, people that were sailors for the Queen of England were coming down with scurvy. And scurvy is a horrible terminal disease. Their, extremities do this, and I mean, it's a horrible way to die. And somebody came along and said, if you'd start using citrus, it will go away. And of course, the doctors at that time did the same thing our AMA is doing today about B17 and pancreatic enzymes, laughing at it. But the Queen thought, well, I'm losing my fleet, my sailors. So she was smart enough to tell them, hey, when you have a glass of rum at night, squeeze a lime in it. That's why they call them limeys. The disease went away because we in America and in Europe started including citrus in our diets. My grandmother told me that one Christmas she hung the stockings on the mantle, farmhouse in Alabama, and you know what they got for Christmas? One orange. I said, Grandma, I am so glad I'm not your child. You're going to give me an orange for Christmas? I'll get even with you. She said they were so happy to have it because hardly anyone even knew what they were. And scurvy was a problem. Not today. Well, is cancer the same kind of thing? That it's a deficiency disease of a metabolic problem? I'm not a doctor. I'm not that smart. But when I added it to my diet, I got well. You believe what you want to believe about that. Maybe you believe that God healed me supernaturally. Well, in a sense, I guess that happened, huh? The way I found out, the way that God gave me the willingness and the capability to stay on the diet. Most people quit the diet in 90 days, even after they've been in remission. You would think, like I did, I don't ever want to be that sick again. But they don't. They think I dodged that bullet and I'm an American. I can do what I want, No, you can't. You're a human and your body requires certain nutrients. And if you withhold those, you'll pay the piper one way or another. And that's what I believe.
Wow.
What have I left out?
No, that's fantastic, Rick. Thank you so much for sharing. I love your message. I love your story. And as a parting message to anyone, and if you go to rncstore.com and you use the code ARC, you get a 10% discount.
And you set that up. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Doesn't come to me, doesn't come to you. ARC, A-R-C, right?
A-R-K.
A-R-K. That's a Bible degree I've got. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can edit that out, huh?
Okay. We'll edit that out.
We'll quit with this little painting behind me.
Yes.
It's a good story.
Yeah, sure.
Or let's go with the air purifier.
Okay, share the air purifier.
When I was down there as a patient, I was in a restaurant eating because the hospital hadn't been built yet. And my father-in-law and I were in the restaurant having dinner. And all of a sudden I said to him, the whole room is getting really dark. And with that, keeled over on the floor. And what it was, the Santa Ana winds had blown into San Diego. Those are, you can look it up. But the temperature, the humidity drops to single digits. That's hard on old people, sick people, and babies. I was in one of those categories. And so my father-in-law picked me up off the floor, got me to the car, put me on the back seat laying down, took me to our no-tell motel where we were staying, laid me on the bed, and I could hear him kneel down, and he started praying for me. A couple hours later, I wake up, and I had a dream. The only dream ever like this. I said, you know what? He says, how are you feeling? I said, fine, let's go for a walk. He said, well, a walk? Yeah. Let's go around the block because I dreamed you and I went around the block over that way. He said, well, if you want to. I said, while on the walk, I dreamed that I found a portable air humidifier, one of the little ones, you plug it in and it pushes humidity in the room. And it was sitting on the top of the garbage can waiting for the garbage man to come get it. And so I took it, brought it home, filled it up, and it worked. And he went, I don't know. We'll look and see where we can find one of those in a store, and we'll get you one because you're evidently very sensitive to low humidity. And so we got around the other side of the block. God's honest truth. I'm swearing this is the truth. I saw the garbage can, and so did he. And there was a little air purifier, humidifier in the top. It looked like it could work. And we didn't even say anything to each other. We both looked at each other and he went. Then he said, it is in the garbage. We're not stealing. Go ahead. I took it home, filled it up. It worked. Now, you tell me what happened.
Wow.
You got a choice. You can say, I had a deja vu in reverse, that for some odd reason I saw the future somehow. I don't know. Maybe quantum mechanics allows for that. Maybe, but I don't think so.
No. God gave you a dream, and it was a prophetic dream, and it manifested. I've had those happen to me too, so I love hearing that story.
Amazing, because I haven't had anything quite that dramatic happen to me since. Not that I haven't seen the hand of God in our lives, but what I'm asking your viewers to believe is that in the time of need, God sent an ark. Genesis chapter 6, God saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of his heart was only evil continually. And God said, my spirit will not always strive with man. Mm-hmm. And that he kind of regretted, if you translate it, having made us. So he said, if I can find a righteous man with a family, I will save them. And we don't want to pick on the animals. They didn't do anything. So big ark, not the whole 6 people, but 2 baby elephants, 2 baby giraffes, not full grown lions.
Yes.
Anyway, you know the story. I'm not going to go through that, but there's an ark out there for you.
Absolutely.
And you got to believe that God is in control of bringing that ark, making it available to you. But guess what? You and I have to walk onto the ark. And people will be making fun of us. People will think we're stupid. People will think, oh, brother, he's committing suicide. My family did. And by and large, for a while, they avoided me. And were not supportive. So that's my story. And it's a lot like yours, evidently. And I love the name of your show. I got on the ark. And only my ark didn't go to Mount Ararat. It wound up in Tijuana.
Rick, God actually woke me up from a dream and audibly told me to get on the ark. And I was like, Lord, what do you want? What do you mean? And that's what created this podcast. And the ark is Jesus. And just like in the days of Noah, so is the second coming of man. So we need to get on the ark, meaning take a personal relationship with Jesus and let him give us dreams to show us where to get the humidifier or to lead us to Tijuana or wherever he wants to take us. We just say yes and amen whenever he says something.
And if you dare watch CNN News one night and then watch Fox News the next night, you're going to say, good grief, it was the world worse than this back then? Well, apparently it was, but not by a lot.
Right on.
And I think we should be every day looking out our front door for a big wooden boat.
Yes.
We got to get on that ark. It's not going to be like that probably. But thanks so much. I'll come back again.
Yes, Rick. Thank you. And thank you for getting on the ark. Thank you for watching Get on the Ark. And don't forget to like, subscribe, tap the bell button. You know, we have an episode that airs at 5 p.m. every day Eastern time. So get reminded of that. And if this testimony or story touched your heart, or hey, I know someone that needs to hear this, share the message with them. And God calls us to share the word where we work, where we live, where we play. So send it to somebody and let God do his thing.
And your discount thing to help them buy these natural food supplements, it's ARK.
Yes.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, again, thanks, Rick, for being on the show. And
Appreciate you.
Thanks for watching. Until next time.